Stable chat today. We're not going live, just unfortunately through internet service, so people will be watching this on the Twitter feed and the Facebook feed. They're both the same. Catching up with Mick Stanley. Mick, firstly, great that you got the hat on. Matches the shirt for me, so I'm wrapped in that. This has been brought to us by Kelly Partners. Now I'm going to put up Paul Dobson and Dylan Barry's logo there. I've got to actually get rid of that one of mine across the bottom for Dylan Barry, but all your accounting needs, get in touch with them, but especially through COVID-19 at the minute, get in touch with Paul Dobson and Dylan Barry. And that can be me segue, mate, basically to you, because you actually train a few horses for Dobbo and have over the years.
Yeah, exactly. So Dobbo's a great man, and no doubt at all, if you have any needs there in the accounting department, Dobbo will definitely look after you.
He will indeed, and he'll keep you on your toes as well. We'll get on to the boys you train for, and you train for quite a few boys with social media connections and Twitter connections and the likes. But firstly, how long have we been here for, mate? Because I came here very early on, which was a long, long time ago. And whereabouts are we?
Yeah, well, we're at Burrum Beat, so we're just on the outskirts of Ballarat. I remember when we first looked at buying the property, when we were driving around, Jen and I lived in town, and driving out here, it felt like we were driving miles out of town to look at the property. Now that Ballarat has just grown that much out this side, we're only 6-7 minutes from the edge of town where we're a big supermarket and the girls and that go to school. So it's really close to town, good spot, and we're close to the freeway. So we've been here about 7 years now, and it's come along really well.
I've got a few ways I want to go, and it's interesting what you just said there about whereabouts you're situated as far as how far out from Ballarat and the likes. I'll start with your track, and the reason being is there's a few photos in the track of how close the township is actually getting to you, but it's quite a unique track, I think, that you've got. We've got the jogger going around there now. Firstly, you don't mind using a jogger around on the track?
No, we don't use the jogger every day. Just Fridays, obviously. You're here today on a Friday, so every Friday we use the jogger. We don't lead horses when they go in the cart. The days they go in the cart, every horse goes in the cart. I think just too many accidents happen if you're leading a horse off the back of one you're driving. So we don't do that. And we like to give them an easy day. So Friday's the day that we do use a jogger and give them their light exercise on that day.
I actually got two horses here. It looks like it's got a fair incline on it, the track. Would that be fair? Yeah,
it does. So the home straight has got a really good incline on it. And because it's, as you said, it's a big track because the home straight's a touch over 400 metres. So although it doesn't look as big as what it is, it's very continuous for a long way. So they know that they've done a bit of work by the time they get to the end.
And these two horses in question, I've got on camera here, you didn't overly work them. I didn't think it's a little bit deceptive because I am a long way away from the bottom bend and that, but they're having a good blow, so they can get plenty of work without actually working hard.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. You don't want to be bottoming the horses out at home in their track work, but at the same time, as you said, you want them to get the heart rate up and have a good blow and know that they've still had hit out. So we found it really effective, and that was the reason, one of the reasons we built such a big track. Just the way that the land laid out, it really suited, and we find it very beneficial for us.
The surface, what sort of sand is that? Like it's everywhere here by the looks of it. It looks like it's an easy sand to work with.
Yeah, well, the sand that we've got in the yards at the moment is from Sago Hill, just across the road here, and it's a really good wash sand and holds the water really well. So it's underneath on the track, and then we've got a river sand over top, which we put on before winter, and that it holds the water really well. Obviously, being in Ballarat here, we can get quite wet winters and that. So we haven't missed a day through winter, even with all that rain. So chucking the river sand on before winter was was a great idea.
Where we are, Cardigan. A lot of people will know where we are as far as situation, but interstate people have no idea. But you're a stone's throw from Emma and Clayton. and Yabby Dam Farms, it's quite a unique area here because you said about the weather, and it is very wet. I've been to both those other properties when it's wet. I was at Yabby Dam the other day, actually Sunday, and it was incredibly wet. Yet the amount of winners that come from this location, it's just ridiculous. And not just winners. I mean, good horses. You know, we ride high as a pin-up horse at the minute, but you had a horse here not that long ago called Soho Tribeca. You know, like, I mean, there's just quality horses. You know, they've got dance craze. There's quality horses in this area. Is there a reason you can see why?
I mean, probably if you look at you look at the stock that Emma and Clayton get and at Yabby Dam Farms, and you know, they're both great trainers, but I actually think it's probably easier to train your horses through the winter and keep them warm. You know, if you've got the right facilities, you know, the rugs and that you can buy these days, you know, you can keep the horses warm. Where, you know, I think the heat, you know, is more of a factor in training the horses than what the cold is. So, yeah, I think all year round, weather-wise, although it gets a bit wet and a bit cold, we don't get as hot as other places in the summer months. So I just find it a good general disagree, and the kids and that, because they're dead keen to move to Queensland where the weather's warmer and that. But yeah, I don't find training in the winter here an issue at all.
No, I train for, I do horses teeth, another job I do for Brent Stanley, and he's very similar theory to yours, actually, and it's just unique just to try and hear how it does actually work. You say about the conditions and how hard it is, and the likes to be able to go with it. You've done a few building changes. One, you're sitting behind one of the stables here at the minute, and there's just horses actually go to sleep. It's a good little yard, but they're all gone to sleep on us at the minute. But you've had to change quite a few things, and you've done. We'll go with your yards at the minute, mate. You've had to change the yards up over the time since you've been here.
Yeah, well, so when we first bought the property, as we said 7 years ago, you know, Jen worked, and then obviously, you know, we had a young family, and I actually, you know, spent most of my time early on. I only wanted to be a driver. I didn't actually want to train when I first started, and then as I got older, I moved to Ballarat, and when I first moved here with Jen when we got married, I went out and worked for David Murphy, and so we only set the property up, you know, to probably train 8 horses to start with. So we only had, on our right side, I had 8 yards, and they were paddocks, no shoulders, just big paddocks, and yeah, a lot has changed in 7 years. So we've sort of had to upgrade the farm as we've gone along.
Absolutely, and these yards, and I've just flicked the video on again, just so people can see what we're talking about, and it's about to stop in a minute, and I'll just go through it one more time because there's a picture, and people are probably wondering why I took the picture, but you've had to put concrete underneath your boxes and new sand in those, basically for your climatic conditions. There's a concrete just there, and the new yards, this is the yard that I've taken a video on. It's not finished at the minute, but it's not on the way. That's just to try and get them up out of the weather and warmer through those winter months.
Yeah, exactly. I think because when we do get the rain and it gets cold, the ground just doesn't dry out. And even though we have the boxes, we initially put sand in them and then shavings over top and thought they would hold, but you know, the horses, they walk in and out of the yards and they wear it down, and then the water creeps in. So yeah, so this year, you know, we've concreted the boxes just to make sure that they've got that space that's dry all year round, and they can get in under and be comfortable. So, and then we've made the yards a bit smaller and changed the steel. That, you know, other reasons why we've had to go to steel, but you know, and then we've filled them up with the good sand, so the yards are nice and soft, and they're always up and out of the mud, which really helps. And it not only with keeping the horses dry and that. But you stop your greasy heel and your foot abscesses and all that. Trying to eliminate all those things.
Yeah, which is always an issue. We're actually sitting behind the new shed as well. Just there on the picture with the dog lane. That's where we're sitting. But the horses, you only got one of these. You like this shed?
Yeah, I love this shed. This is only new, been in a couple of months, and they're quite big stables. I think they're 6-7 metres deep and 4 metres wide. So there's plenty of room for them and. Obviously, when the weather gets a bit better and that, they get to go out in the paddock during the day also. But the plan is that we definitely love to put another one of these sheds in. But we sort of done everything as we've had the money to do so. We haven't gone out and taking loans and got ourselves in a lot of debt. So if we can get out of the current climate and hopefully we can get some feature racing back, and if we're lucky enough to be able to earn some money through those, well, who knows, we might be able to round that money up and build another one before next winter.
We'll definitely get to that. We'll get to the discussion a bit later on, I suppose, about where everything's at, especially for the stable. I'll just stick to what we've got at the minute. We've just got your what have I got here? I've confused myself, which is not unusual for me to do. Don't you worry about that. Your gear shed, it's only a little shed. There's not a lot of area at the minute, but as we speak, if there's a rattle and that going on behind us, the concrete is here. That's ever evolving too, isn't it? Like you're growing as your business is growing. Yeah,
exactly. I think we go back to you said when you first came here, and I just had the car shed, which was an old mechanic shed, and we were gearing the horses up and washing them outside on a little pad. So at least we've got a shed there with a roof over our head, Paulie. But yeah, look, I don't mind that though. Everything gets done in that small space, and we don't have to move too far to get things. Our gear and our hobbles and that's very close and eliminates a lot of time and that. So and it's still a good area. We don't have a lot of workers. We don't train a massive team, so we don't need an area where we need to be tying up 20 horses or that. So it's a really good, comfortable area for us.
Oh, I think it is, and I think everything that you have got is comfortable and it's easy. It's all within walking distance. I think that's one of the great things I will say. Got a horse kicking behind us, unbelievable about it. But that makes a huge difference, doesn't it? It's just being able to be comfortable for you guys. I mean, you're a young family as well, and that's a juggling act, I would imagine, for you and for Jen. Putting money into here, putting money into the kids, 2 young girls that have got the whole life ahead of them. So it must be a bit of a juggling act trying to balance, I suppose, setting yourself up for life, both training wise but also family wise.
Yeah, exactly. And look, we like to think that obviously the kids get looked after first, and then what we do out here second. And Jen will tell you otherwise. She thinks that I look after the horses first, and I'm sure that every family is the same if it's a horse person. But no, obviously the kids have got their ponies and. They don't miss out on a lot, and we try to look after them the best we can. And after that, we'll upgrade here the best we can to make sure that we can give ourselves every chance to continue to compete in the future.
Absolutely, I got one of the little ponies there on screen too. Went out for a drive. Juggling act, had to do 4 laps, 2 each for both the girls, just so we didn't have a fight. One other one that I think some people find very fascinating, mate, was the gear. And I know when I came years ago, you had a lot of white in your harness, and you decided you were going to change up. You had to go to the blue and the orange because everyone was going for white and white, and you wanted to stand out that little bit and be different, which I love. I love the way you guys present. I saw Ryan Duffy cleaning the harness. You well and truly educated him because he does a smick job on cleaning the harness and making sure it all goes there. Just seemed to be a little bit more white creeping back into the stable, mate. There was a lot of sets of white hobbles on.
We've actually started buying blue hobbles more than the whites, but our breastplates and bridles and that were blue, and we sort of we stuck with the white hobbles, but we're changing back to the blue. I think it doesn't really make any difference. But like you said, we like to have new, clean gear. Ryan's exceptional. He gets really frustrated if someone cleans the gear and it's not done right when he gets it out of the bag at the races. So he likes to do it himself, which is great for me because I don't have to do it. But and I think as you said, we changed the colours to blue and orange. My old colours were a bit of a mixture of my dad's colours and obviously the late Gavin Lang's because I worked there and as most people do in harness racing, idolised him. So we probably went. Jen had came up with our logo with the S and the Stanley stable. So we changed to that, which has been really great because, as you said, it's been something we've been able to market ourselves on through the social media and that, and it's been really good for our brand.
I've done. Look, we've got heaps of ways we can actually go with a conversation with you, and I must say, one thing I'm going to point out very quickly to everyone here is the fact that I am nervous doing an interview with you because you are one of the people that tends to pick me up on a lot of mistakes that I can utter out of my mouth, and they come out quite regularly, so that's okay. I'm actually going to, I've just done a close-up of your chest there. You better flex your muscles, mate. But the Stanley stable and the branding, and I think what you guys do is exceptional. What you present race day makes you stand out that little bit better, including just having the Stanley stable there and doing something a bit different. A lot of people, I suppose, dress similarly, but we don't market ourselves 100%, if that makes sense. I think we can always aspire to get it better and better going forward. Is that how you see it, like from an industry?
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone sort of if you go to a thorough, obviously no one can go to a thoroughbred meeting at the moment, but when we could, you go there and you see David Hayes, their stables. They're all wearing their Lindsay Park jackets, the strappers, and themselves have all got their own brand, and Mick Price. So it doesn't matter what trainer in the Gallops. Everyone represents themselves really well with their logos and their shirts and that, and that's something that we thought that we could do a lot better and went down that path. So I think part of it's great to win races and that, but you still have to represent yourself really well, as you said, and that's what we like to do. We like to look the part and represent ourselves and the people that work here, and that if we've got horses running, we'll wear the shirts or the jackets and that we've given them, and know that people when they go to the races know that they're representing our stable, and so far it's worked really well.
Just so people are aware, the Kelly Partners sponsor me, and that's the hat that Mick's wearing, which actually matches his shirt. Marketing yourself and selling yourself, I think, is the one thing that really draws me to like your story, Mick. I mean, as you said, you're only young and you're trying to get out there, and you needed to get some owners, and you've done a pretty unique thing. I'm actually going to let you tell the people. There'll be a lot of people that actually do know the story, but there'll be a lot of people that'll be like, wow, this is how you come to have a great association with Rob Watson.
Well, I actually can't take any of the credit. Obviously the training wise I can, but a friend of mine, Adam Wilkinson, which a lot of people in the trots will know, he owns a lot of horses and that. Adam and I went to school together and continued on a relationship after school and that. So it was actually Wilco's idea. Said, what about this? I'll draft up an email and tell everyone what your story is and that. So obviously I had a bit of the input, to where I've been, and Wilco drafted up an email and sent it out to some of the bigger breeders and owners out there, and we targeted people that had more than one trainer, because we didn't want to be targeting people that, we wouldn't be taking owners off people and that sort of thing. So we targeted owners that, like Mick Lombardo and obviously Rob Watson, that had horses around the place, and I think we sent out 6 or 7 emails, and Rob Watson was the only one that replied, and he just was thought the industry lacked professionalism, and it really took him that I put myself out there, Wilco put myself out there, and and he said just because of that, I'm going to give you a go. So, and that obviously was 7 or 8 years ago when we first decided we were going to take up training, and Rob sent us 4 horses that first year, and now basically I train every horse of Rob's that's in Victoria.
Which is, I mean, and one of the horses, we'll get to him in a minute, is Tribeca, but he was, when you started this process, his 2-year-old career, he was trained by Nolan James. So, I mean, that's to get a quality horse like him through this idea. I think that is great. And the story for mine is, Stable Chat's about promoting Mick Stanley today and Kelly Partners because they sponsor me and all the rest. But I think it's about getting some of these stories out there that participants do and ways they market themselves, ways they train their horses. It's just a key component, and just the fact that you've basically reinforced what I always thought, that Rob Watson was drawn more or less not to your training ability. It was more how you sold yourself, and then you've got to sell your training ability. Yeah,
exactly. Look, I'm sure if you asked Rob, he probably didn't even know who I was, because at that stage of my career in harness racing, I think when I lost my junior claim, I went off to Queensland to play footy with my mates for a year, and I obviously worked in a couple of stables, but when I came back from that, I never really got back driving to how I used to. So, I probably floated around driving Dad's horses and a couple of people that I used to, but I wasn't as prevalent as what I was when I was a junior. So Rob probably didn't even know who I was until I sent that email. And Rob's a pretty outgoing person, and very thankful that we get along great and have probably a similar interest, I will say, outside the horses and that as well. So sometimes we'll talk on the phone for 40 minutes some days, and 10 minutes of that might only be about his horses. We'll talk about the footy and other things. So we've got a great relationship.
I get nervous doing these, sometimes reception, sometimes I don't like holding people up and doing it a different way. Do you get nervous when you send an email off to 4 of the biggest owners, in Australia basically, and saying, look, how about you give me a crack? Were you nervous once you sent them off, and did you have to check your emails every 5 minutes waiting to see if they got back to you at all? Or?
Not really. Not really the nervous type. I think anybody that knows me will sort of know that I'm pretty laid back in that regard. I don't really get nervous at all in any aspect. So try not to let too much bother me. So not really. Whatever happens for a reason. As I said, Rob wrote back and we're here today. But if he didn't, I would have pressed on and found another way.
Yeah, which is I just think it's good. I think it is a great story. We'll talk about Soho Tribeca and the quality of horses that he sent to you. I mean, Soho Tribeca standing at Northern Rivers this year, so anyone wants to book into him, by all means, get in touch with Kath McIntosh and that at Northern Rivers. But to have a quality horse like him come through, and you're only a young trainer, you must pinch yourself that you can have horses like him come into your stable, and like even now you've got Soho No Leader, you've got just quality stock all the time coming through your stable.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think we had some great horses before him. Really good horses that won group races and Group 1 races. But, luckily for me, just the circumstances, probably Soho Tribeca wouldn't have came to my stable. Unfortunately, for the previous trainer, Kim obviously had that little hiccup, and if that didn't happen, Soho Tribeca probably would never have walked through the door. So, it was great for us because he came over, and 2 weeks later we're running straight in a Hunter Cup with the horses just ran out of a Miracle Mile. So it wasn't that hard to get him going, and probably the biggest thing with Soho Tribeca was when he came was, to make sure that we kept him up to that that level to be competitive, because that would be the worst thing for our stable if we get a horse like him and he comes and then all of a sudden, he goes backwards, or he's not competing to how he was before he arrived. So to go on and race really well was something that we were really happy with, and as you said, set us up. I think Soho Tribeca taught me a lot more about training, because you realise how good a horse has to be, and I think our training methods probably rose a little bit for him being here.
He was a superstar horse. This is going to sound a strange question, but probably one of his, I would say one of maybe your crowning achievements was probably in defeat, like that Miracle Mile race, and he's running that Miracle Mile when he ran, I think he ran third, was it? And he finished third.
Ran third. Don't really see it as an achievement.
You don't?
I know people look back on it and said it was a great, the best run in the race and that, but we're here to win, you know. So I think from that race it just makes me strive harder to win a Miracle Mile. I think I probably, looking back at it, it's a race that got away rather than an achievement.
Wow. And yet he was huge, and I was talking to John Coffey last night, and he was saying that he still thinks that's one of the greatest runs he's ever seen by a horse in harness racing.
I think the run itself was, and he was just cherry ripe that night. He was ready to go. Made the gear changes, which I held off. I just knew that it'd lift him when I put the pull down blinds on him, but I just held off, until that final, and we just might have used them 100 too early, but it was a great race. I just look back on it and feel it's one that got away.
Sorry about that, mate. I definitely didn't mean it.
Yeah.
But
I understand that people look at it and see how huge he was, and he was. I can see that too. But when I look back on that race, I just have that feeling that it got away from us. Yeah.
Unfinished business.
Yeah, exactly.
How good? Like, is he the best horse you've had anything to do with?
Oh, 100%. The most gentle kind horse too. He's a beautiful horse, magnificent horse to look at. But he could just sustain his speed, for so long. He was a tough animal that was fast. Unfortunately, due to injury, we probably never got to see him go on. I think his 6 and 7 year old years could have been better than what we saw. But unfortunately, that hasn't come to that, and he's had to go to stud. So I hope that people do give him a great chance, because he's got an impeccable pedigree, beautiful horse, great temperament, and he had speed and stamina. So I'm looking forward to his babies walking in the door and hopefully leaving us a champion.
Rob's got another horse he's standing at stud this year, and he's actually going to send Pixel Perfect to him, Soho Lanakai, am I right?
Yeah, Soho Lanakai, obviously he's a 3-year-old now. He's a beautiful horse. He won the Premier Stakes back in January by sat outside the leader and won by 70 metres in 1:54. And he's a beautiful horse and was probably right at the top of our group this year. But unfortunately, he got a little bit crook. Nothing wrong with his legs. He just got a little bit crook, colicky, and those things. And we took him into the vet clinic, and they just said it was best for him to have 2 or 3 months off and let his insides and that really recover and that. So Rob just thought, if we, it's through the stud season. He's impeccably well bred. He's a beautiful looking horse and had high speed and was strong as well. And he just thought, we might serve a few of my mares. And then we're like, if we're going to serve a few of ours, we may as well put him out there and see if anyone else was interested in his pedigree that would want to breed to him. So, and he matches up really well with Pixel Perfect, which I think why Rob's going to give him a chance, because probably her best progeny's been by Mach 3 and American Ideal, and Lanakai's obviously by Sun Beach Somewhere, who's by Mach 3, and his mother Obama Joy's by American Ideal. So he gets that double cross there that what has already worked for Pixel Perfect in the past.
random question that I wasn't going to ask you. Are you into breeding? Because I tell you, you rattled that off very well. Like, do you have I know Dad is, but are you into your breeding?
Yeah, my dad's exceptional. He loves his breeding. He could tell you bloodlines from back before he was born, I reckon. Yeah, I am into the breeding. Obviously, when you go to the yearling sales and that, you really need to be across that to get it right. So I don't breed myself. I've had a couple of goes, and unfortunately, I've lost a mare and foal twice at my 2 attempts. So I've given that away.
Probably not a bad idea.
I bought a mare this year to breed the Soho Tribeca, so I'm gonna third time lucky, hopefully.
I hope so for you and for the mare, mare as well. You are a second generation. Are you a second generation or third, like his dad?
No, my grandfather, he was into the harness. That's how my dad got into it. But unfortunately, he never got a winner. So third generation horse person, yeah, for sure.
But Dad Ian Stanley, for those who aren't aware, and he'd be hating COVID-19 lockdown, I would imagine, because one, he loves the races, plus he's a very passionate man about his breeding, but also his horses, and also his son. I think he's very proud of what you've been able to achieve. But what he's been able to breed on the racetrack, especially for non-expensive stallions, most of the time, union guys and the like, Dad's just done an exceptional job, hasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, Dad, he really is across the breeding, and he doesn't breed to sell, so he doesn't need to go to those commercial stallions. He likes to find a good value stallion that matches with his mare that he thinks will, and he's, so far he's been proven right. He's bred some exceptionally good horses, and it hasn't cost him a packet in service fees. And I think if he was here and you could talk to him now, I think the first, when Blue Collar Tiger Pie retired, he goes, all right, I'm going to go all out. I'm going to send her to Sun Beach somewhere. He's a boom stallion. Forked out the money, and he says it's the slowest horse he's ever bred, so he's not going to do it again.
Blue Collar Tiger Pie, for those aren't aware, is actually the reason for Union Alley. We'd given up on our Albert mare, and then Marie saw her and said, well, if Ian can do it, I'm going to do it. And just followed that same line.
Yeah, we can thank Ian for doing the research for you.
Yeah, we have quite regularly, and it's a proven line. But I do love that. Young horses, mate, and your affiliation with young horses, is that through Rob Watson, or is that something that's always been there? I mean, you're tutored by Gavin Lang, who always had young horses around him, but was probably never noted as a 2-year-old trainer.
Well, I think, before I worked for Gavin, I'd done a couple of years with Alan Tubbs, so that's probably where the young horses come in, and the training side as well. Tubbsy was always great with the young horses, and and obviously my dad being a breeder, we've always had the young horses there. So, but so I think when I first left school, I went and worked for Mark Hayes, who is a breaker, and I think I was 15. I left school when I was 15 and went and worked for Mark for 6 months. And anyone that knows Mark, he's a bloody hard worker. I went back to school after that 6 months. I thought this isn't for me. This is too hard. Went back to school and then went to obviously done a couple of years. Alan Tubbs, who loved his 2-year-old. So always been into to getting the young horses going. I think there's an art to it, and we love it here every year. It's, you get to now, and the next season's ones are coming in. It's always exciting.
I saw one of the yearlings. I didn't take any photos, so no one will get to see them. But you've always been able to, like I say, produce nice horses. And I was lucky enough the other night to see Soho Bollinger at Bendigo, and for mine, he looks like a horse with the future. But you're saying that the bloke further away in this picture now, he's the horse you've got a real soft spot for.
Yeah, Barra and Banner, obviously they're stable beside each other, and I thought Bollinger. He's probably crept up on us a little bit, and it's probably because of his size. Like you said, he's a monster of a boy and a big better's delight. We probably didn't rank him as highly as we do now early on, but the last 6 months with growing into his body and that, he's really come into his own. He's always been a really strong fella, a little bit dorky, only does what he has to, and probably that race experience, and he's the most race 2-year-old we have this season, obviously with COVID and that, but we've kept him going, and I think it's really benefited him. And even the other night, although he's really strong, they zipped home in 26.7. He really wanted to chase and let down, and I think next time we see him, he'll be better for that again.
I'm fortunate enough to be able to get to racetracks and all the rest, and he's such a different horse. When you see him up close and just in the parade ring and that, he is still a big baby, yet if you watch just the replays of his races, he just looks like this big horse that's ready to go. But there is so much upside in him, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, exactly. So, probably for him, COVID happening is probably a blessing, because if the APG and the size and Breeders' Crown were on in their normal time slots, he probably would have been behind the 8 ball. But now he's sort of coming into his own, and I think with what we saw last night, if he continues to improve, he could be a serious player.
Barroom Banner is going to Sydney, unfortunately, because of COVID-19. He's going to head up very shortly up there. That it must be a little bit frustrating for you, because you don't mind travelling either, do you?
Yeah, I love travelling. Getting away, I think that's a really good part of our job, that, we're very lucky. We get to go and see different places and see how different people live and work and do their thing. So I love getting away and doing that. But obviously, how it is now, we can't go. And in saying that, I'm actually really grateful that the Breeders' Challenge in New South Wales is going ahead, because we've sort of gone that far now where our owners and breeders and that need to compete in these races for us to continue. We've got yearling sales and that, you think about it, we're not that far off Christmas, and then the yearling sales come along and we're into the breeding season. So we need some money to be coming back into these people that are going to reinvest in the breeding season and the yearling sales. And I just fear if we don't run these races that it's going to make it really tough next year on those, and we could, hey Fred, and it could be really tough for the yearling sales and the breed.
I haven't got a close up of him, but he's definitely on the camera doing it. Rightio, COVID-19. I did a podcast with you right at the start of it, I suppose. It was back in March, which seems scary in itself, and you were reasonably outspoken about it. And you had concerns. 6 months down the track, are you happy with the way that things have progressed as far as the safety goes?
Oh, I think within the harness racing, definitely. I think everyone's done a fantastic job. Harness racing Victoria, I know a lot of people probably weren't or aren't that happy with regionalisation racing, but I think it just stopped people travelling around, and I think everyone has been really good, and I think that's one thing that, we were fearful of at the start is and we can see what's happened in Victoria, in Melbourne. It only takes, one person to not take it seriously to see how it can get out of hand. And that was our fear at the start, but harness racing has done a really good job, and probably we're very lucky that a lot of people in the trots has their own property. We work from home. We don't generally have to get out and about. So yeah, it's unfortunate that we can't have crowds and owners and that can't come and watch their horses at the races. But we have been able to still race where a lot of places got shut down, I guess. And looking back on it, I'm probably thankful that we did continue to race, and really appreciative to how serious everyone took it.
How do like Rob Watson's and those of the world, they understand where we're at in Victoria right at the minute, as far as not being able to do feature racing? Are they understanding of it, and are they also probably, like a lot of us, a bit frustrated?
Well, Rob's a Western Australian, so we'll never do it as good as them. That's his theory. Hey, Rob.
That was that camera.
Hey, he's a Western Australian, so we'll never do it as good as them. Look, I think, at the time, obviously, I think everyone knew that we had to postpone them. But yeah, it's sort of getting to the point now. If we're going to race on, we probably need to start looking forward and running these races in the climate we are with no crowds. Not changing the way that we're going about continuing to keep racing going, but we still need to run the actual races for the owners, and that's why the horses are going up to Sydney next week, because although I can't take them and train them, and they're still going to be my horses, I'll still watch them and cheer for them, like they're my horses, and no doubt they'll come back after the Breeders' Challenge for the Breeders' Crown, but it'd be selfish of me to stop the owners going and racing in those races. They need to be there and give themselves a chance so they can reinvest next year.
This horse has given plenty for other people to go. Is it also a little bit frustrating this season, because you did start off with a bang with the 2-year-olds Christmas before Christmas time? Looked like on paper you were going to have one of the best seasons, especially with your juvenile stock anyway, for a long time. Is that part been a bit frustrating? And furthermore to that, is it tricky getting these horses now with what's going to be, looks like a very condensed season leading up to Christmas, hopefully anyway, with all these feature races? Does this make a big challenge for a trainer that you haven't experienced?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think because if you look at it, when at the start of the year you get the 2-year-olds up and going, and I'll answer the first question first. It's definitely frustrating because we had them all up and firing, and their manners were impeccable, and obviously it was the best crop of 2-year-olds they had. So it's frustrating that we had them up and firing, and then we had to stop. But hopefully we can have them all going again, and we sort of can continue on into how it is. But really hard to keep 2-year-olds maintained all through winter for a APG, Assize Stakes and Breeders' Crown, with colds and the cold weather. That is really challenging, and they don't get a lot of a break. Through that period. You might get to give them 5-6 days off in between the APG to the size, and the same to the Breeders. So they really race on all the way through, where this year we actually stopped and gave them a month off, and then now that they're back, and a lot of them had their first trial last week, so they've actually had a lot of time to grow up and fill out into their body and have a good break. So what we're going to have for the horses at a New South Wales Challenge, they're going to have the New South Wales Challenge into the Breeders' Crown, and month after month, and the Vic Breds are going to have Breeders' Crown into the Vic Bred November to December. So not really that much difference in their workload. I think they're going to be built better for it, though. They've had the time to grow. I think the horses will handle it. We're in a warmer climate. It'll be easier on the trainers to keep the horses fit and sound through that time. So I can actually see a real benefit to how it's going to play out this year to how it was previous.
I'm a big advocate for racing calendar to January to December. I like the idea purely because we could be racing this time. Ballarat's cold. It's a beautiful day here. It's a bit chilly now that we're in the shade. I don't know how you're going in the t-shirt, but I'm a big believer. I don't know where your thoughts are with it, but I think it could definitely work. And this is a great trial run. We speak a lot about Rob Watson, but he's not your main owner. I mean, you actually train for Paul Dobson, Kelly Partners, but you train for quite a group of diverse people, and they're pretty passionate guys on social media, and they love their horses, and they generate a great bit of banter, don't they, Sooty and Pogger and those? Yeah,
definitely. Came across those. Pogger, obviously, being on Twitter, I don't get on as much as what I used to. There's a few people out there that ruin the good for everyone else, and sometimes it's not worth it. But Pogger and I got a really good relationship initially, and that Pogger's obviously very, very astute at his form, and that, so I used to go to him, especially when big races come around. I used to go to Pogger to helped me out with a bit of form that he's exceptional at his form with knowing other horses and that. So he's been great. So that relationship's been really beneficial. And then obviously through him, you know, Sooty and Dobbo and I think with Paul Corris, there's a handful of the guys that have got a syndicate together, and they have a couple of horses here every year. If we buy yearling, they're always keen to go in one. So they're a really good ownership group, and then we've got Brendan James now who has 5 or 6 horses here, and he's a fantastic owner as well. And then the Larry boys who we gained a couple of years ago have always got a couple of years. So we've got probably a select group of, it was not through my selection, that's probably our ownership group, just a small and compact ownership group that makes us up, and yeah, we're always happy to take on outside horses and what have you, but you know, we're happy doing around, you know, the team we are now, the 20 to 25. We don't want to get massive and be training a big number, 60 to 100 horses like others do. We just find that we can balance our lifestyle a little bit better, you know, with a young family, better that way, and also give the horses the attention they need personally.
They're a good, diverse bunch of guys. I mean, Rob Watson on his own, passionate harness person that just wants harness racing to keep improving and improving as it goes. Brendan James, bit of more of a private person, isn't he? Like he loves having high class horses and the likes. Paul Lowry, if we ever get back to racing, I mean, turnover goes through the roof. If those boys can win a Group 1, that's for sure. It's just through the bars.
For the bar.
Don't have to be anywhere else, just through the Burchett boys and the bar. And then you've got, you know, the social media guys, really, with Sooty, Pogger, and the likes. Dobbo, these guys going through. So you've got a diverse boutique group of owners, basically, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously, Don Martello has had a horse here for the last couple of years also, and then Dad's always got you know, a couple of heat breeds that rocks in and that as well. So yeah, we do have quite a diverse group, but you know, we think that we get along well with all of those, and you know, we've had a lot of success for them, and you know, hopefully we continue in the future. This
horse has given me gold behind. He's going to take Dobbo's hat into the box. That's for sure. I won't hold you long. Drain the Swamp. How far away is Drain the Swamp? This is for Dennis Bice. Dennis Bice will be listening to this. He actually bred him. So
yeah, he did bred him. He had his first trial the other day. We didn't do a lot. We just poked around slow and let them zip home. So he's ready to have a start. Probably we'll take him a couple of runs to come back up to scratch, but we've got plenty of time. He's a Vic bred horse, so you know, Breeders' Crowns first, obviously November. So we've got a couple of months to really get stuck into him, but he's ready to race. So yeah, the boys will be happy though. It'll save me sending out a message later on.
And he's better than average horse by all means, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think he'll be one of the 2-year-olds that can really do a good job in the better races. He's a really strong horse and didn't get a lot of luck. I think apart from his win, he sat outside the leader both times in really fastly run races to really good horses, and he stuck to his task really well. So I think when he gets in the better races, in a truly run race, when he's not the one that has to do the work, he'll be more than competitive.
Very, very good. There's one other thing I just want to quickly find out, because I found this one today and I found it really interesting. In a minute, you're going riding horses with the girls, and I think this is great that you're actually outside of you know, training horses. It's not wall-to-wall horses. I've held her up, I know that much, but yeah, you even have your own little quarter horse who's on the picture right now.
Well, this is a fair old dance, this fella. He's
No, I've got a
you got him on picture. Sorry, mate. Yeah, I do. That's probably one of the good things that has come out of COVID. I've always ridden, and I'm very lucky. Obviously, I have Jen here that we work together closely and that every day. So, but I probably didn't. You know, you get so consumed by the racing side of it. Sometimes you you forget to do things with the kids and that. And when they're at school and they're off at gymnastics and dancing and that, you don't get to do a lot of the things together. You go and watch a lot of things as a parent and that. But so yeah, when COVID hit, Jen's great with the girls. She rides with them all the time. Jen's a great rider and taught the girls. They're terrific little riders. And then when COVID hit and we're all stuck, we found Jen's got a 2-year-old called horse, so we went and bought River, my little fella, and with the girls home every day. We were taking off trail riding and that, and I haven't been for a good time now that we're racing a bit, but it's such a great day, and the girls they get in and get their schoolwork done. Jen's and her mum obviously are homeschooling the girls at the minute and that, so they make sure they get their work done, and we'll head out and have a trail ride around. There's some really good trails around the lake and that, and I actually do enjoy it. I more do it for Jen and the girls, but now that I'm into it, you realise how good it is for you.
Hasn't been all bad, COVID. I mean, there's been some parts I think we well and truly learnt from. I think the whole industry was possibly going way too hard there for a while. I think that's the one thing that everyone has learnt, that maybe backing off could help the industry, long term. Yeah,
we definitely do go too hard, and I think we just, we probably do need to get a break in there, which none of us do often enough. I know personally, Jen and the girls will go on a holiday. Obviously, they haven't been able to go this year. They'll go on a holiday every year and make sure they get away, and they'll go without me, because most of the time you want to head up to Queensland or somewhere in the winter when it get away from the cold, and that is when we've got the feature races on. So, that might be another positive coming out if this can work and we don't have the feature races through winter. We can all go away and get a break with our families, which, I probably should have taken more time, and as you said, that's what COVID probably has done, is made you sit back and realise to spend a bit more time away.
Absolutely. You're riding a quarter horse. See Alfred's out there cutting up trees and making into some sort of sculpture. It's sort of done some good things. Not all of it's been great things.
Massacred a sculpture puppet. That's what I saw of it. But you had a crack.
He did indeed. Mick, I appreciate it. I don't think you've corrected me on anything so far, so I reckon I'll just about leave it as done. But I love talking to you, and I could probably talk to you all day, but I want you to be able to go for a ride with the kids. I love what you're doing here, and I'll come back in another year, hopefully, and have another look around. But I think what you guys are building here, but I just like the family life as well as any of those other things, mate. This has been Stable Chat. It's actually been brought to you, as I said, by Kelly Partners, Chartered Accountants in Melbourne, Paul Dobson and Dylan Barry. The phone numbers there is 9629 6744. That's 9629 6744. Get in touch with the guys if you have any COVID issues as well, not just in relation to accounting. They have small business problems and the like. So if you're a harness racing person or a thoroughbred person, anyone that's watching it, don't be scared to give the boys a touch. Mick Stanley, thank you very much, mate. Look forward to seeing you in the winner's circle, and he's going to bite you right at the very end. Thank you very much, Mickey Stanley.
Beauty. Thanks, Paul, and keep up the good work.